let's talk about the Broncos potentially trading for Jonathan Taylor. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. Matthew Peterson here, still battling a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit congested. But we've got some, pretty bombshell NFL trade rumors out there surrounding Jonathan Taylor. As we all know by now, the Colts gave Jonathan Taylor permission to seek a trade, as Ian Rapoport tweeted out. And so a lot of fan bases are asking, could we be in line for Jonathan Taylor? I am sure even in the back of your mind you thought, could this be something Denver does? I know they've got a running back in Javonte Williams, but we are talking about an NFL rushing leader from just 2 seasons ago. So I think there's only a short list of teams that would have absolutely no interest in Jonathan Taylor. And I don't think the Broncos are on that short list of teams. So we're going to kind of go through the pros and cons of trading for Jonathan Taylor. I should mention what it could cost to get Jonathan Taylor. And one of the beat reporters, Stephen Holder, says they are looking for a first-round pick or at least a package that equates to that as much. So we saw Christian McCaffrey get dealt last year to the 49ers, and he did not even go for a first-round pick. So I don't know if the Colts are asking for a first, but they'll come down to a second because they know running backs are just not going to get a first-round pick anymore in the NFL trade world. But maybe there will be a team out there that ponies up a first. Denver's got a first again, so I guess the Broncos could theoretically do that, but I don't think they will. But let's at least go through the pros and cons of making a trade for Jonathan Taylor, starting with, this is half glass full, half glass empty, depending on how you want to look at it, but a contract extension, meaning you are likely going to have to give Jonathan Taylor a new contract, or at least extend his current contract instead, because that is what he is ultimately looking for here. Rewind a couple of weeks ago when the NFL running backs sort of banded together and picket fenced the NFL going, we want more money. And Jonathan Taylor's like, you know what? I'm entering the last year of my contract. I think I could use some more money too, or get a new deal with some guaranteed money. And the Colts kind of laughed it off, and they're like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. Well, Jonathan Taylor has been MIA from training camp for a variety of reasons, whether it's injury-related or personal reasons that have been excused, a.k.a. we just don't want you here right now. But would the Broncos be a team that could give him a contract extension that would put him up with the Christian McCaffrey, the Alvin Kamara, and the Derrick Henrys of the world? You look at the highest-paid running backs on average, and Saquon Barkley did not get franchise tagged. Ultimately, they reworked to a new 1-year contract with more money, but he's still just making a little over $10 million a season. So my suspicion is that Jonathan Taylor wants somewhere around $12-ish million a season. I don't think he's going to catch $16 million like Christian McCaffrey got, nor do I think he really deserves $16 million, but he might be able to get $12 million. And I know that everyone loves to say, don't pay running backs. And that's sort of the fun thing to do and fun thing to say. And I think it's kind of low-hanging fruit, to be honest with you. I'm not against the idea of paying running backs if the situation is right. I don't think a team like Denver, coming off 5 wins last season, should be a team that pays a running back top 5 running back money. To me, that's just not good timing. If you want to pay a running back top 5 money, and you were in the NFC or AFC championship game last year, and you feel like that's the last missing piece of the puzzle, like the Buffalo Bills, for example, sure, knock yourself out, go for it, and that might push you across the end zone, literally and figuratively. But for Denver, they are not, and this is what I've kind of said all year long when it comes to these blockbuster trades, I'm just not fully in the camp of they are a team that is 1 star player away from really going the distance this year, and they should give that star player a big contract that hopefully they won't regret in a year or two if everything starts to crumble a little bit, because number 3 doesn't bounce back and Denver ultimately is stuck in a very tough spot. But let me know, should the Broncos pursue a Jonathan Taylor trade? This is the pinned comment, so scroll on down, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. The second element we have to evaluate here is Jonathan Taylor better than Javonte Williams? Because if you're trading for Jonathan Taylor, you are likely sending Javonte Williams back the other way. So let's kind of look at Jonathan Taylor against Javonte Williams here, because Taylor last year only played 11 games. He was injured for the first time in his football career. But the season prior, He averaged 5.5 yards a carry, 18 touchdowns, en route to leading the NFL in rushing with 1,800 yards. Now, Javonte Williams versus Jonathan Taylor is not the most fair comparison. Taylor has played a lot more games. He's been in the league longer. But I don't think anyone's going to make the argument that Javonte Williams, head-to-head, contracts aside, fully healthy, is better than Jonathan Taylor, right? I think we can all agree that if each guy cost the same amount of money and each guy was 100% healthy, which running back would you rather have? I'm sorry, Javonte. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. So Taylor, in my eyes, is the better back, but I also don't want to just give up on Javonte Williams because one of the big pros of drafting a running back is that rookie contract. And so if you trade a running back away like Javonte Williams on his rookie contract just to get a new running back who you have to pay top 5 running back money for, unless you are firmly in the playoff race or in the playoff picture, which I don't think the Broncos firmly are. They might sneak in there with Sean Payton, but they're not a lock to go on a deep postseason run. I don't think this would be a good time to pursue that trade and ultimately make that handoff of moving on from a cheap running back on his rookie deal that you could maybe apply a franchise tag to and have 5 years worth of control versus trading picks away for Taylor and giving him a big contract. Let me see how Javonte Williams looks first, right? What if Javonte Williams bounces back this year and he rushes for 300 fewer yards than Taylor and 2 less touchdowns? Sure, Taylor's the better back, but if you're paying him 10 times more than Javonte Williams, wouldn't it be worth, just cost-wise, to roll with Williams? So that is the give and take when it comes to this side of the coin. Now, before we get on to the third and final element we have to look at for exploring a Jonathan Taylor trade, we are trying to grow our Broncos breakdown channel here at Chat Sports, and we're closing in on 15,000 subscribers. We are just under 300 subs away, so I know there are a handful of you watching right now who have not subscribed. Please consider subscribing. It goes a really long way to help grow the channel, and then you guys can get more content. Third piece of the puzzle here, and that is, what would it cost, right? What would it cost to get Jonathan Taylor? Because let's say you're on board with Jonathan Taylor over Javonte Williams, right? Step 2, check. And step 1, you're okay with paying Jonathan Taylor, but you don't know what it would cost to get Jonathan Taylor. And that's kind of the million-dollar question right now. No one's got a great answer as to what Jonathan Taylor could go for in a trade. If Denver is a team that wants to pursue a Jonathan Taylor trade, well, let's look and see what they have in their arsenal. And that is a first-round pick, which we know Indy is looking for. But just because they're looking for it doesn't mean they would not settle for less. They have a third. Their second belongs to New Orleans for the Sean Payton trade. A fourth, 2 fifths, and 2 sevenths. So 7 picks altogether. No second makes it tough because if a team like Indy was willing to come down from a first, they wouldn't want to slip from a first all the way to a third. So maybe what Denver could do is reach into their 2025 draft pile and give up a second-round pick there. If Denver's like, listen, we'll play ball, but not for a first-rounder. We don't have a second-rounder this year, but we can offer you a 2025 second-round pick. So if I had to do my best to come up with a fair trade, and that's really all I'm trying to do here is what would a fair trade for both sides look like? How about Javonte Williams going to Indy, along with a second in 2025 and this year's upcoming 4th-round pick, in exchange for Jonathan Taylor and a 5th. So Denver gets a 5th rounder, try and offset some of the draft capital going the other way. But at the end of the day, Taylor is regarded as a better back and is worth more in a trade than Javonte Williams. Even though both guys are coming off injuries, Javonte Williams is coming off a much more serious injury. Sean Payton did not draft Javonte Williams. And so he may view Taylor as a piece that could help resurrect Russell Wilson, right? He wants to run the football. Well, if he's going to want to run the football well, you really need 2 elements to do that well. And that is an offensive line and a good running back. The offensive line has not looked good so far. So Jonathan Taylor could help overcome that if you believe, hey, he wants to run the football. And so far, well, just be it 2 preseason games, the offensive line's looking a bit shaky. If Sean Payton wants to get off to a good start in Denver, I wouldn't be blown away. I have to sit down. I can't believe what I just heard type of reaction if Denver makes a move for Jonathan Taylor, because They want to run the ball. They think Taylor's a better running back. They think their offensive line is a bit so far. Taylor could help overcome that and help get the best out of Russell Wilson. I also just want to plug, Taylor's a really good player, and I think that's kind of gotten forgotten in the last 12 months because of the injury-plagued 2022 season he had. I also love any opportunity I get to kind of shut down the Josh Jacobs rushing leader season a year ago, because look at the 4 previous NFL rushing titles. Josh Jacobs won it last year, 1,600 yards. Bravo, round of applause. He also did it while averaging 4.9 yards a carry. Compared to the 3 previous rushing leaders, who all averaged over 5, Jonathan Taylor averaged the most yards, more than Derrick Henry, at 5.5 yards a carry. So sure, anyone can lead the NFL in rushing if you give him 370 carries. But Jonathan Taylor did it in a very impressive style with less carries and more yards and a higher average as a result. So if you're looking for someone to make the case to sell you on trade for Jonathan Taylor, if Taylor needs a change of scenery because things are not working well in Indianapolis, and that definitely appears to be the case, what if he's the next Marshall Faulk, right? What if he's the next running back the Colts trade away, and even though they got some good years out of him, his best was yet to come? Go look at Marshall Faulk's stats. I think at least my generation, even though I'm even a bit too young for the Marshall Faulk era, definitely thinks of him as a St. Louis Ram, but he started his career off in Indianapolis. And go look at the change he had when he went to the Rams. If Sean Payton believes, hey, Jonathan Taylor is that special of a player, and all it would cost is a second rounder to get someone who could be an NFL rushing leader or at least top 3 year after year, Pro Bowl, All-Pro type player, a second rounder is probably worth the cost if that's the case. But I just go back to the first point I make. That can all be true, and we saw a lot of great running backs be on a lot of bad teams, like Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers, and ultimately, if it doesn't equate to wins, what does it matter? And I just don't think Denver's in a spot where they can go get Jonathan Taylor, and that's going to help get them a boatload of wins. I think there are other things they have to assess first, and step one is not, let's get a top 5 highest paid running back. That's going to turn the ship around here. But would you do this trade going back to it? If you were the Peyton brass, the Peyton duo, George and Sean Payton, and this was the trade on your desk, would you accept it? Would you pass? Give me your honest opinion down in the comment section. Personally, I'll pass. Like I said, if Denver was coming off a 10-win season, I would be all about this, right? I'd be like, okay, Denver took a big step last year, finally getting above 500 for the first time since 2016. Javonte Williams comes back from a knee injury. We're a little bit uncertain how he's going to look for the rest of his career. It's a serious injury. This is a win-now mode. Let's go all in. Let's get Jonathan Taylor. Plus, he's not 29 years old. He's 24. You're going to have him for a lot of good seasons coming up. I can get behind that. But the fact is, they're not coming off a 10-win season. I don't think this is a win-now mode. This is a team coming off 5 wins last year that I think is more than just a top 5 highest-paid running back away from going on a postseason run. So let's start winning first before we start adding luxuries. And right now, a top 5 highest paid running back would be a luxury for Denver. To wrap up the show, let's get to my summer hot takes, and then I'm going to go blow my nose because I feel like I've gotten 10 times congested since the video started. It's 94 degrees today. It is a first take hot take, and we're talking Jonathan Taylor. I keep wanting to say Javonte. Jonathan Taylor, hot take here. Ready? He gets traded to the Dolphins, and the Dolphins win the AFC East. I kind of feel like a fraudulent year from Buffalo is coming, where they have just been so close, but also coming up so short in such dramatic fashions over the last couple of years. There might be a regression year coming. So for that reason, if Tua plays at full year, and remember, Tua was awesome last year up until his concussions, him, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and a good defense with Vic Fangio, that could be your AFC East winner right there. So that's my first take, hot take on today's show. Subscribe. I believe if I pick up 20 more subscribers, my cold will go away. So if you want me to sound normal,